All right, guys and gals, we're going to go ahead and get started. So on there, what can they see? They can see just that, not me.
They see that, and they can see you.
Oh. Surprise. All righty, so I'm Suzanne Zamora, and this is Mr. Russell. We're from Albuquerque School of Excellence. So I have been teaching about 23 years. I have a half year in there. I still add that. It would be 23 and a half, whatever. I've done, I started off with middle school and then took a venture to first grade and then jumped back up to sixth grade there and then took a leap over to the charter school world from Las Lunas Public Schools over to charter school. Very big difference. Brought my own kids up with me. We drive up every day. And then now I'm teaching gifted, and I'm the coordinator for our school and have done some admin things along the way. And this has really become a passion of mine to have kids find what makes them tick, especially in what I'm doing now with gifted. But this has been something the entire time, always hands-on, always kid choice, those kinds of things. So today we're going to look a little bit at the PBLs and how we use 3D printing as part of that engagement process. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So I am Russell, and I also work at the Albuquerque School of Excellence. It's been like 8 years working at this same school. So prior to that, I graduated from physics. And at our school, I'm also teaching high school physics and middle school computer sciences. Like at the beginning, I was teaching just physics and middle school science. Now I'm teaching cybersecurity, coding classes, physics and chemistry. And it's been a passion for me as well. Like I was always looking for the newest technology that we can bring to our school. Like we brought cybersecurity, we brought like coding, like also we brought like building robotic systems out of like microsystems. Yeah. So today we talk about how we can utilize this PBL like and 3D printing to make sure that students like understand like what they are doing or like what they are reading from the science into like real things. They can like tangible things.
Okay. Alrighty. So I thought if you guys don't mind, sorry, people online, we might be able to let them do a breakout room and do this. I thought maybe just turn and tell the person next to you kind of who you are and where you're from. I don't know where we have people from. Do we have people from like all over the state? Do we have just Albuquerque? Where are you all from? Albuquerque? Everybody? Okay. Belen, okay. Down my way, yeah. But I thought just take a second, if you would, and just introduce you to the person next to you, unless you know the person sitting next to you. You all know the person sitting next to you? Did you do that on purpose? No. I hate that when they do that and say, oh, you have to go find someone you don't know. Never mind that. Just kind of tell people, though, why you were interested in coming today. Do you guys work together?
Not in the same school, but we collaborate.
Nice. What I did for you?
An adventure type book plays well into designing board games.
They share the website now, right? The PBL website.
Stuff like that.
I don't have the link to that. You mean the one you just did?
No.
Whatever's on this slideshow.
Oh.
Did you put it on there?
No, I like you decided not to, right?
Yeah, because it had the old date.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys, if you bring your attention back up here in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Alrighty, so for PBLs or problem-based learning, can you just give me a show of hands or a thumbs up? Let's do if you have used this ever in your classroom. All right, so we have some experienced people. So the way that I work a PBL, I give a lot of student choice and a lot of topics. So I have that freedom because of teaching gifted. The way I run my class is, I have 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. I have 6th and 7th at one time and 8th grade at another. And I have 25 of them at one time in the room for 30 minutes every day during their homeroom time. And so they have to know what they're working on. They have to come in and be ready to go. And they all are at different levels, of course. And so they all know what their goals are ahead of time. That takes some time to get set up and meet with each student and get that done. If this were in a bigger classroom, you'd meet with based on whatever your interest level, based on however you want to set it up, interest level, ability level. Sometimes it's what the topic is, not just what you're interested in, but it's like you're going to work on this topic, you're going to work on that topic, and you decide. But however you decide to break it up, kids know I need to work on this by the end of that. They decide how they're going to do that. They come up with a problem that they're going to work on. Something I didn't put in here, but I'm going to throw out there in case anybody does gifted and wants to do this. We use a website called Renzulli Learning. And so that has a lot of the PBLs there based on interest. It's like $10 a kid. And you can sign up for a free account at home if you just have one account. So something to maybe check out.
How do you spell Renzulli?
Renzulli.
Okay, I just want to make sure I have it.
Learning?
Close.
No.
It's UConn. Okay. University of Connecticut.
Yeah, so it is Renzulli himself and Sally Reese that run that website. So it's like the 3 triads of engagement that they focus on. So anyway, students select a problem and then they go through and decide how they're going to present this. They have to, of course, clear it with the teacher, so you have control over like a veto power, okay? And so I use this in every single subject because I have kids with critical thinking, I have kids with creativity, kids with math, kids with reading, writing, and then at our school, everybody gets the career readiness goal, even if you are in 1st grade. Or kindergarten, I guess. I don't have many kindergartners yet. Anyway, so the main choice is that you feel engaged. You walk in and you know what you're working on. You get no arguments for discipline if kids are wanting to come into your room and do this. So major way that I manage classroom management is make sure what they're working on, they enjoy. The sense of ownership is key. I mean, like we walk into a place, right? And if we don't want to be there, we fidget and we talk and we start looking on our phones and we start doing those things that we get mad at children for. So I have the 3 main reasons that I do this is to make sure that I'm differentiating. So you can use this across any classes, okay, in your content. Some of the different ways that you modify content are listed there across all broad issues, different themes. You can modify the rate that kids work on this. I do that by having them, after they do the project, give me a due date. And not everybody's is due on this day. But if I know somebody's working on a longer project, then they've got more time. You can modify the complexity really easy this way. This kid that needs to take it to the high school, college level, but they're only in 4th grade can do so. And the kid that needs to go slower can do so. The process of going through that, the different steps that they're going to take can be modified in that group, and however you do the groupings and by them setting up their projects. They're going to have their different challenges that they're set up, and they're going to progress as they go. You can stop that at any point. You can make that go farther for them. You can check in and see that they're having difficulty and intervene. And then the major thing that they like to have choice in is the product outcome. Do they get to do a Google slide? Do they get to make a website? Do they get to 3D print? Do they get to do a combination of everything, a poster, whatever different kids like to do? They have the opportunity to engage in that. And I do encourage them to try something different each time. So if they are a kid that's real artistic and they like to make posters, try to encourage them to do that digitally one time. Try to encourage them to, add that poster to a presentation so that they're expanding their horizons that way. So our 3D printing, what we do, I put TinkerCad on here for today, but we use Onshape at different levels and TinkerCad. TinkerCad, because I figure everybody can jump on and check that out, and it's pretty straightforward. They have lessons set, which we're going to look at in a minute, that you don't even have to create. You can assign them to your kids, and they can go through the process of learning. We also have Nepris at our school that is brings in professionals to your school, and so we set up talks with them and have the kids ask the professionals questions, and they have TinkerCad things on there. So I had 3rd through 5th graders. They're in one of my advanced electives, and they were talking to a Nepris presenter that does TinkerCad, and he's telling them how, you can make all these designs and you can sell them. It's 3rd graders like, I'm starting a business tomorrow. So, and I didn't realize quite how many different sites are out there for that. Like, people really go and post all this, and just, you can find anything. Okay, so for the student assignment, ours is Shark Tank, the major thing that we're looking at first. We ask them, okay, what is the next big thing? Is there something that you don't like the way it works? Is there something that, you wish existed to make your life easier? And usually I do this in groups of 3 to 4, sometimes 5, although that team tends to leave an odd man out. But if you have to, depends on your students, you guys set that up, and then ask them to come up with a product. Do a little research, search around. They probably, depending on their age, will have to look at what Shark Tank is if they're doing this exact thing, because they don't watch that on TV. They're watching Netflix, and they're watching, things that I don't think they need to be watching. But anyhow, they may need a little introduction to what that is. So there's some good clips on YouTube about, people presenting and the judges, or sharks, if you will, going through that. They'll create a prototype, and they do have the option, but we had them use TinkerCad. I had, trying to think how many different groups do this exact one. 2 of them decided they didn't want to use TinkerCad. They drew it on TinkerCad, and then they didn't want to print it. They wanted to make the bigger version, because they were things, for example, that would go in a car, and they wanted to actually use the fabric and sew and make the deal. Go for it. They have to develop an advertisement for this project, and so there you're bringing in your speaking, listening skills, some writing skills. You have to use some persuasive writing to get people to want to buy your product. And they actually pitch it to sharks. So we brought in people like our counselor, the dean of students, a couple of their teachers that were available during the different time periods when they were presenting. And they were given an unlimited budget to spend, and they had to pitch to the sharks. Let's see, does this little guy move, or is it always stuck right there?
You can click hi.
There we go. Okay. All right, so this is an example of an 8th grade group that this is their rubric that they come up with. So they are given the topics on the side, like you need to have the readiness, you need to have presentation skills, knowledge of your presentation, advertisement, and product, and then they are set to create a rubric. So this is how I control their learning. They are deciding at the end what they need to know and what happens if I don't get to that level, what happens to my grade, basically. Usually when you do it like this, you don't end up with low grades. Students are knowing exactly what they're looking for. However, sometimes they don't get things finished. So student-led rubrics is another way to make sure they know the product outcome. Okay, so for advertisement, a couple of the options, I thought I'd show you some examples here. One video. So this is a little group that developed, and you'll see it in a second. It's called the Woof Woof, and they have a little object that will hang on your pet's neck, and when they're barking, you can translate into different languages so you know what they're saying. Right? And mind you, these are kids, middle school. This doesn't exist yet. This is a prototype. It doesn't really work, but you know, maybe next step is challenge them to actually code that. So this is their goofy little video. Whoa. Ah. Okay, so that was one that they used Canva for. We had some do magazine ads, we had some do posters, and then quite a few digital presentations. And I told them any other idea you want, you know, you can, they have kind of developed, like they understand how we work now. If you have an idea, you just ask. If I say no, I'll give you the reason, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do instead, or what might work better. So this is an example of their self-watering flower pot that they've 3D printed. Mind you, it's a prototype, so the straw is the water, and it connects to the bottom part that is higher in here. So this is controlled by an app or remote control, and this is their presentation. Oops. Well, let me present both of these at the same time here. Okay. So their thing is they love plants, but they forget to water them, or they water them too much when their parents say they need to water them. So they developed the flower pot that uses technology to keep it. Oh, it's solar charged as well, because they thought they might forget to change the batteries. And so they give a little information, and this is their presentation. Comes in different sizes, different testimonials from kids who are in their class, and then their demo. This is the carton cutter, and so this group was very basic and chose to develop this little object that will open their milk carton easier for them, because they are tired of spilling their milk. And so they don't have as much information on there. This group is a group that is hard to get motivated. So like to get this much designed and printed was a good step for them. These guys are 4th graders too. The group before was an 8th grade group. This is the waterproof book. So this is a group of gentlemen who apparently like to read books in the pool or by the pool. And so they developed this on the 3D printer, and it slides in to the center here. There's 2 pieces. And the idea is you could take it on your book and put it on the outside of your cover, or they also want to develop where you can order certain copies of books in waterproof. So all the pages and everything could be waterproof. So they had to develop some different things with the plastics, and this is a group of 7th graders. They had to look at the different materials that might work and go through, you know, not from laminated paper to bamboo to different plastics. Why is this not clicking? Sorry, I don't know why it's not going to the next page there. So some different benefits they come up with, where it's going to be sold. they did get some comments. Every single group, I told them their one problem is they're too honest. They couldn't on the fly like come up with, oh, I think I would do blah 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 blah, or this will cost this much. They looked at each other. Well, we didn't do that yet, in the middle of things. So that was something I need to work on with them is presentation skills. I said, y'all just too honest. Okay, here's the plant detection device. So this is an idea where you would just hold your finger through that little ring and point it at any plant above ground or in the water. And the little screen would tell you what that plant is and what it needs. Lots of coding. That would be awesome. That's the woof woof that we watched the commercial. This one they realized already exists in Europe, but the wash and dry. And so they created a washer and dryer. So they don't like having to remember to switch their clothes, and they don't like the way they smell after they forget to switch them from the washer. So if it could just do it all. And then this is supposed to represent their mess of laundry on the side, because now their next step is something to take it out and fold it. Okay, and then I'm going to let Mr. Russell show you some of the higher PBLs there.
So for the PBL, which is like a project-based learning, so we sometimes tell students like prepare like videos, presentations, everything. However, they need the location to store all of this. And we said that the best way, which is also like 21st century skills, is to design their own website. We were using this Google Sites, and this is one of the examples like by the students, so they can like look at the different components for their website, and they put everything together. So they were trying to defend. So it was part of the cybersecurity, and they tried to like, how can you secure your network from outside attackers? So they put their research, their findings, all of them together into this website. So they make different links to put everything together, and how to remove downloaded files, everything. Also, how can they recover if they lost their website files, for example.
And this is middle school, right?
It is, yes.
Yes, 6, 7, 8 at our school, middle school.
We had other websites, but because our school, like we had high school, we have PBL for the high school. But when they leave our school, their accounts are disconnected. So they're still working for the new ones, but we don't have like the old ones right now, because the Google changed its sites to the new one, and we lost all the older versions of them.
But still, another example of how like kids could take that to the next level. Let's see, what do we have here? Okay, so what I'd like to do is ask you guys in your table groups, or however you want to split up, partners, whoever you talked to at the beginning, stop and think about what's something that you teach or a topic that you cover that maybe isn't the most interesting topic for students, and they don't really, what could you do instead of what you do now, whatever that is, to turn this into a PBL? How would you break that up and give students more choice? Would you use topic area interest groups? Would you use like heterogeneous groups? Sometimes that's best for certain topics. Would you use homogeneous groups? Or would it be just content-based? So I'm going to give you about 3 to 5 minutes to kind of turn and talk to your group, and then we might ask for a few to share after, okay? I know.
have to start.
Yeah, that's right.
I give them the tutorials videos for TinkerCad. We play live while they're watching the videos. And they have a pretty good sense after a few of those videos how the basics of TinkerCad work. And one of the things that they're not so good at understanding is how the scale on the screen translates to the printed object. And so you have to teach them about the millimeters, the centimeters, the scale, and then you have to show them how when you print the dry run, but I can't remember the name, the mock-up tells you like how many minutes it's going to take. So I'm like, okay, well that's 5.5 hours, and your thing is 12 inches tall, and let's get real here. So they've learned, they send me their files, I look at them like, oh yeah, 35 minutes, that's cool, that's pending. So that's one of the big hurdles, is getting them to understand that. And then it's not the color on the computer, it's the color that's loaded into the computer. And it can't be different colors graduating down, because we're not changing that school every 10 minutes through the printing process. You got these color choices and that's it. Once they get their head around the
It's a really nice,
yeah, that's really great. SEL project, so they're looking like hats or objects, they're researching color, psychology, they're learning about what social emotional needs are with students. They're talking about, hey, when I set my dog, I feel maybe designing a little dog.
I like
hat,
that.
colors,
External people.
shapes, and then that's the prototype. Is it going to be furry? Is it going to be soft? Is it going to make noises? Is it going to have a light inside of it? So all of those kind of things that they can't really actually build, but they can present like this, So we're kind of working our way through that, and they're actually going to have a Google slideshow, partly about what they learned, and partly about their object that they're creating, how they would market it. They're going to get some kid input research. They're going to be kind of prototype available to classroom kids and get the feedback. And do like a market study just to see what's it's cool. I had some kids that wasn't really built anything else. So just be listeners. And they come back each week and set up questions, and they can work on the stuff if they want. They have shop 2 days a week. They're more ELA based, 2 days a week that are now. Even my ELA, like they're making stuff interesting. It's going to become the basis for a board game. How does the management board game work? Before we close school, kids developing credit pieces on boards. Some of these styles we have to learn about. Working rules, they have to set rules. Just the whole development. And this goes by your age. And these are kind of how it's going to play or evaluate each other's games. You guys see kind of cool stuff. Because I know right now. I use a mouse on the
All right, guys, if we could start wrapping up and bring your attention back up here in 3, 2, and 1. Okay, I heard tons of great ideas as I'm just kind of eavesdropping as you're talking. And I also heard some good questions that were going on. So I'm going to ask if there's anybody who would like to share what was happening in your group or what you were talking about. Anybody come up with something fabulous that they'd like to share with the group? I know you all did.
We're shy.
You're shy? Well, I heard some questions about TinkerCad, and we're going to look at TinkerCad next. and kind of go into where you can find that to show kids. One of the things I heard somebody say on the site somewhere was the time that this might take. I want you to look at it like in lieu of the give them this, test them that, blah, blah, blah. It is in lieu of that, but it is covering the same exact content. And it is just a different way to give an assessment, right? So you're not doing this and then turning around and giving them a paper pencil test. That's for a different topic, okay? Okay, let's keep going here. So your Wi-Fi thing that I had there was in case you wanted to use that, but we'll just keep going. So TinkerCAD, is pretty easy to navigate here. You can set this up on your own, like quickly to do a free teacher account. You can link your classes. So I have my Quest class and my Science Research Mentorships classes all linked in there. That allows you to see everything that the students are doing and save it, find it for them when they can't find it. You have access to print their things and export their things without them being present, which is pretty neat. You can go into this Teach tab and you can find the free lessons to explore. Do you want to do this part? You want me to do this part? What do you think? Huh?
Okay.
You're good? Huh?
It's fine. Like,
Okay. Okay, so you can decide, like, do you want to have a certain focus for your class? You can decide on the grade level. You can also go in there and do the very beginning and have them watch, find my lessons here. Let's go back. See if we can find. So these are my little guys. And you can see some of his things that he's created. So all of their little designs are logged in there. So I started with a keychain. And then their latest thing was to develop, for Dr. Seuss, they had a makerspace thing and they were given 8 different topics and they had to pick 3 and they had to come up with a way. So they want to make a thing 1, thing 2 trap. They want to show how that trap, and they had to do all the math that goes with it and whatever on the side too. So to draw all of that on there, I believe this is his thing 1, thing 2. So I can totally get into this little 3rd grader's account.
They have to name their
This is,
files too. That's a hard
they
thing
have to name their files and do that. Yeah, his is interesting, but that is his thing 1, thing 2 trap.
You don't have to print everything.
No.
That's the nice thing is you can present it as an idea.
Yes, and they can take, screenshots of this. They can put a link to this in a presentation and show the idea. They can do this, and then they can go build it with materials in your classroom if you choose that. Go ahead.
Is there a way for them to do it like this and then transfer it to a USB drive?
Yes. So what you do is you say you're going to export it. And then for our printers, we use the STL file. So you click on your STL file and you download it
Okay.
to where
so
you.
I can transfer it from, hey, they're doing this in my
That's
classroom.
exactly what I do though. Yeah, because they're on their computers and I have to take it over to the computer that's plugged into my printers.
Okay.
Good question. Okay. Let's go back a little bit. So I'm going to give you a minute to open up TinkerCAD. Just tinkercad.com, tinker in there. And if you want to set up a free account, if you don't already have one, I heard some people say they already do and they already use them. I heard a good comment from over here, and that was, you don't have to print everything that they do. They also don't realize that the different colors. They make some really cool looking things on there, and they get really frustrated when it comes out all yellow or all white. You can paint it. You can sand it. You can make things come to life that way. They have to understand that ahead of time, so the frustration's not there. But they They definitely love to see, and they learn a lot about the design here. I mean, if it's not flat on the plane and your printer is showing under, then you need to check that because your printer is going to start, hitting the deal. And sometimes I let them see. It's going to hurt it. See, it's going to do that. And we
There's
stop.
a set of command codes that you can give the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Keep, like D for down to seat their object on the plane, things like that.
Yes, those are super helpful.
Once they learn those, they're like, oh, I see how to fix this.
Yes, and all of those are in one of your lessons on here that's for you. Like you don't have to go search for those. If you go into you want to teach that, it'll develop. I believe it starts with like a nature one if you pick that for like 3rd grade, say, and go basic. And they have to sit and mess with different things. TinkerCad is kind of neat because when I go into I'm still on this kid's account. Sorry, people that are
We always sign in with Google.
Maybe I can't remember how to get out of my. So you can find like new activities here that you want to create and share. You can totally share this on your Google Classroom too if you're still doing that. I know I'm still doing that so that kids, as they go on quarantine in the beginning and blah, 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 are able to still check in with it. Do you want to open up one and tinker? Go to a new one? How do I do that? Yeah, do we have pictures of that somewhere? Oh, we should have brought that. Just show them. Yeah, so some things to mess with here. There's some starter lessons here. Some lessons that you can go through and look at, and then there's projects. And then they have some of the stuff ready-made for them. So, you want to have them design a classroom, redesign your classroom, make the ideal, most comfortable classroom. They can find furniture and they can find things that they can use and add those over on the side. It's not just basic shapes. They can click through and find different objects because they are beginning CAD users. And then the other one if you're interested in this or you've already done TinkerCAD for a while with kids, the next step is Onshape for me. And Onshape, you can set up a teacher account and log in kids for free that way and have them share their things with you. It's not as easily accessible and they have to know a little more coding. So definitely start with this and then ease into that. And then it's your own comfort level as well on doing the CAD programs.
We've also used SketchUp free.
Oh yeah, SketchUp's good.
Yeah.
For sure.
My son's an architect and he came in and taught the kids how to use the program. So
Nice.
I'm like, hey, come in here and show these 4th and 5th graders how to do CAD. So
Yeah.
once they got it though. I mean, they're not afraid to push buttons.
I was gonna say they're not. Yeah, like me. I'm afraid. What if I delete it? What if I no? Just play.
Just play. Yeah.
At one time, there was an iPad app
Mhm.
called Print Shop.
Yeah.
And it was as easy as setting an object down and screenshotting it. And then the kids were able to do just 3 different manipulations. For elementary, it was perfect. It was a height, a width, and a density.
Mm-hmm.
And they could make really cool things, but they got rid of the app. And it was so sad because we were doing projects called 3D Knees,
Mm-hmm.
where the kids would draw themselves, and you could actually do a
Take a
pencil
picture.
drawing, and it would turn it into a 3D.
Oh.
And then they talked about themselves, but it was so frustrating when it went away.
Yeah.
It wasn't supported by the iOS anymore, and it was a bummer because we did that with all of our kids.
Yeah.
And they got to draw themselves and print themselves.
Yeah.
So.
Mr. Russell pointed out to me that when our school is how old? 13 years, 12 years, something like that. It's been around there.
10 or 13, yeah.
it's more than 10 because I renewed the charter a few years ago. I don't know. I've only been there 4 years. It's been there a lot longer. But anyway, before I was there, one of the projects that they did is they created a 3D hand, and it was a usable hand, and it was donated, right?
Yeah, we had people coming from around in New Mexico to our school because
You're good. They're just talking up there.
they were like some students, some kids, or like even adults. They had like this their hand like due to some accidents, and we were actually making 3D hands for them, and they were able to use them. We were very happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, and that was pretty cool technology for being, I'm going to say that was about 9 years ago that was made. Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But knowing the teacher that was there when they were doing it. Anyway, but yeah, the sky's the limit with this stuff. So are some of you on TinkerCAD? Do you have questions, I guess, before we close up?
I saw a funny demo on TinkerCAD.
You saw a funny demo?
Well, I just learned how to use TinkerCAD. I had to
Yeah.
replace my Fusion 360, which I don't have a license for anymore. And I saw a demo, and this guy showed how to make a wrench, a hand wrench. And then went to change the color to gray because they're of course gray. And I thought, why don't you at least tell them at this point it's going to be whatever they're printing in.
Mm-hmm.
The color on the screen. And this is an adult teaching. So
Yep.
it's just like, okay.
It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then they learn how to change the colors in your printer, and they learn, patience, because not everybody can print at once.
Yes.
I have 4 going in my class at the moment, but still, you have to wait your turn. And then I think I heard you say also in that group that scaling down your objects is also huge, because they will make something that is, a foot tall. Well, your printer bed might be only 7 by 7.
Yeah.
And so they have to scale that down and make it fit to be printable. They go to put it into print, it might take 8 hours, and they're like not willing to wait. Plus you're sitting in the room listening to that all day. And so, how to scale that so it's reasonable for what they are doing is important too. And then that's as simple as clicking on it and dragging it down, or going over to the bottom of it and finding like the millimeter size and changing your size on there. It's not difficult. We've had some good lessons with actual rulers, because they don't understand the millimeters. They have 120, and that just seems really huge to them. So you look at that on a real ruler. Well, it's going to be that big. Oh, and then learning how to care for the printers as well is something that I like that they do.
They also realize that objects cannot fly.
Yeah.
Sometimes you build it, it's in air, and the printer cannot understand that and won't print anything.
Yeah.
Also, in my class, I also using like BlockCAD. It's very similar to the TinkerCAD,
Mhm.
but instead of using the shapes to build something, they're using code.
Mhm.
So they're programming it to build something.
You could find some of that in Scratch as well.
Yes.
Scratch Junior has some of those, and those are free programs to mess around with. Do you want to end with our perseverance? Go ahead.
So,
I'll get out of it.
Ms. Zamora wrote this. So when you give kids the opportunity to be in charge or their learning, their creativity and critical thinking skills are expanded, and they learn and have fun. So why we brought this perseverance here is because scientists who built this perseverance, or any rover that went to Mars or Moon, for example, they didn't know at the beginning what to do. They came up with this plan. They were using their critical thinking, their creativity, to have the best option for something that goes to alien planet and will be alone with no help from Earth. So they were using very essential skill. They were using their curiosity, which is the name of the previous rover. So we were thinking that if kids are curious enough, they can build anything they want. They build those and they learn at the same time.
All right. Well, I hope you got something out of this today, maybe an idea or two to take back to your classroom. And if you have any questions before I Yes, miss?
Yes, can you show me the site Rizzoli that you're talking about?
Yes. So this is the main teacher dashboard for Renzulli Learning. So you can see all the time what your students are doing. You can do lessons, assignments, projects. You can use the ones that are on there. You can also add your own. Kids can, what I like about this is kids can pick the topic and pick the things, and then they have a place where they can, it has it broken down like plan, find, create, and you can upload pictures. You can store links of websites. You can link your Google slide there. They can have all their information in one place to come back and research. And I can go on as a student here and show you like what they might see. So, you can do a 90-day free trial. You do have to sign up for it, but it's like $10 a kid. It's not super expensive. So they take a profiler first, which I can't even tell you the number of kids that have come out of here and said, wow, this thing knows me better than me. And then you can go in, you have lots of options. This even has on here like the AP type of classes. So I have a group of high schoolers, that come in and obviously don't need to do the same types of projects, but they can go on here and say, well, you're looking at, let's see, I'll just show you. If they search, oh, it's going to take me to 378 of them. It's going to take you to virtual field trips for them. Let me go on as the teacher and show you, and then I can assign them to them. You can search like ridiculous amounts of any type of activity there. I think I typed the wrong thing on the other one. It'll take you like to your advanced economics, to, whatever topic they're studying. If you can be as specific as can, it comes up with resources that you can use. And all the sources that are on here have been visited and don't have things on there that kids aren't supposed to see. So.
And what is NetPress?
What is what?
NetPress?
NetPress is,
So NetPress website is like a website where you can actually invite somebody from the field.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you want students to listen to the astronomy, for example, about newly discovered comet or asteroid, they actually, you can find them, invite them, and they virtually start, like through the Zoom, for example, they start explaining like their findings, everything.
So you can even get like entrepreneurs.
Yes.
To them.
Mm-hmm. And you can go in and do live chats if you want, but some of the chats are not always, or live talks, I should say, and you can schedule it for a certain time, but let's say you teach the same thing like 4 times or 3 times. You can also do a video session of that you record and show that again. Or you can find some that are already pre-recorded and they have what they talk about, and you can play that for the students. And it has like organizers and things to give them like an exit ticket or whatever at the end in different ways. We're required to give them at least one of these per semester per class you teach. But they have lots of different like virtual events, videos, industry chats. You can bookmark things that you want. It's a neat site to go through and explore too.
And it's free also.
This one is not free. I believe our school has a subscription to it. I don't know how much that costs.
It's a subscription based.
Might be a free trial.
Might be a free trial. Yeah, that I don't know. But pretty interesting. So I'm sorry, guys, we're past our time, but I thank you all for attending.
Thank you.